These are the sneaker releases that you need to know about in May 2025. This is Sit or Sell. Of course, if you want to grab any of the sneakers mentioned in today's video, I've made sure to link them through the YouTube shopping tab on your screen right there. But let's just dive into things and start things off with a collection that we're pretty sure is dropping in May, but we're not totally sure when. And that's the Supreme Nike SB Dunk Low collection. For the first time in the last couple years, we're actually getting another Supreme Nike SB Dunk Low collaboration. This time around, we're getting 5 different colorways, presumably one of them being either very, very difficult to get or a friends and family release, and they all look pretty decent. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not sure if these colorways were exactly what people were expecting. Obviously, we've seen renderings and I guess images of these shoes for the last couple months, but when we first heard that there was a Supreme Nike SB Dunk collaboration coming out, I think we were thinking more of like the stars that we had on the last one, or really any of the classic Supreme Nike Dunk Lows. That said, overall, this is not a bad collection. 4 out of the 5 colorways come with a suede upper, and you've got an all-white, all-leather colorway as well. The standout feature that sort of ties the entire collection together is the 94 embroidered detail on the lateral side of all the different sneakers, 1994 obviously being the year that Supreme was founded, and it's a detail that I actually don't mind on the shoe. I kind of like when Nike sneakers add numbers like that. It reminds me either of Jordan sneakers or NASCAR's, which I know is like 2 completely different things. Actually, Jordan does own a NASCAR brand or team, so I guess it's not too far off. But either way, I do think it brings some nice interest to the shoe. The 4 suede colorways of the Nike SB Dunk Lows that are dropping are purple and gray, black and yellow, black and blue, and black and black. All of these colorways are totally fine. I'm not sure which one I like the best. I think they're all okay. I might lean towards the purple one or maybe the blue and black one, but they're all fine. I'd be happy with any of them. And to be honest, the suedes used on these shoes, at least in these images, does look pretty decent. Oh, interesting. It looks like the suede used on the pairs that have more color are more of a hairier suede, and then the all black pair is more of a kind of nubucky look. Huh, that's interesting. So the white one's all leather, the black one's more nubuck. I don't mind that. Of course, being Supreme collaborations, in addition to the 94 detailing, you've got Supreme on the Nike logo on the tongue, and you've also got Supreme actually debossed into the midsole of the sneaker, which I do think is a unique touch. Each one of these pairs should retail for $135, and honestly, because they're a Supreme collaboration and because they're Nike SB Dunk Lows, they should all most likely sell out. Maybe not immediately, but pretty quickly. But moving on to May 1st, we've got 2 different sneakers releasing, and because this video is probably dropping after these sneakers release, I'm gonna give you guys a very light overview of these shoes, and I guess I will give them a sit or sell rating, but realistically, they probably already have sat or sold at this point. The first pair is the Kobe 9 Low Protro EM Mambasita. This shoe comes in a gray and white faded upper with gold accents and a marbled midsole, and of course is inspired by the legacy of Gigi Bryant. This Protro version of the 9 looks incredibly clean. I like the white and black colorway. Obviously, that's the Mambasita colorway. I also love the gold accents, and I also like the fact that it honors Gigi's legacy. It comes in at a retail price of $180, and most likely this shoe will sell out unless there's a bunch of them, but most Mambasita pairs are very, very limited. But hey, you probably already know if they sat or sold because they already dropped. Rounding off May 1st, we've got the women's Air Max 95 OG Pink Foam. Now, this pink foam colorway obviously is women's exclusive, but it most likely will come in extended sizing, which means that guys with larger feet should still have a chance at grabbing this pair for themselves. And honestly, the colorway is not bad either. It's kind of like an Air Max 95 Neon, except instead of neon, you've got a light pink color, which does look pretty good. It's a very clean shoe, and for a retail price of $180, it also doesn't break the bank. It's expensive, but it's not crazy expensive. I don't know if it's a must cop for me. I'm still gonna be leaning towards those neons, but if I can't grab those, I might have to grab these too. Actually, I probably already did because they came out, or didn't because they also might sell out. In fact, I'm giving these shoes a sell. Moving on to May 2nd, we've got a restock of the Adidas Climacool. So these shoes are literally just called the Adidas Climacool, even though they're a fully 3D printed brand new silhouette from Adidas. Now, they actually did drop last year already. In fact, they have a pair and they're actually pretty decent, but it looks like they're finally bringing them back, hopefully in larger quantities on May 2nd. In fact, I already entered the Adidas raffle for them, so hopefully on May 2nd I'll get a W because the pair that I have, well, I bought it used and it's pretty beat. Unlike a pair of Zellerfeld 3D printed shoes, this is a resin print, which means that it's not gonna be as soft or honestly as comfortable in my opinion, but it's still a very cool and futuristic looking pair of shoes. I love that it's very sleek and minimal. I also like the way that they created the pattern on the upper of the shoe, or the print pattern. I almost called it a knit pattern, but it really is more of a print pattern. This shoe only comes in one colorway, this sort of light tan color, and it also only comes in half sizes, weirdly enough. You got an 8.5, a 9.5, 10.5 with nothing in between, which is weird. Usually you'd expect a 9, 10, but whatever. Either way, it's priced really well at $140. They're probably taking a loss in each one of these pairs would be my guess, because that's very, very cheap for a pair of 3D printed shoes. And it's a shoe that I definitely recommend checking out if you're interested in 3D printed shoes. Actually, to be fair, if you're interested in 3D printed shoes, I'm rocking right now the Apothecary Zellerfeld shoe, which is dropping in June or July. It's my first 3D printed shoe that's officially releasing to the public, so hopefully you guys will check it out. I think it's gonna be priced around the same price, like probably $150, not totally set in stone yet. I really like it. It's a mule, it's crazy comfortable. Maybe I'm biased, I don't think I am, but I think it's more comfortable than these Adidas. Actually, like way more comfortable, because this kind of feels like foam. I'll do a full video on them later. But hey, if you're looking for a pair of 3D printed shoes, you got options. Either way, I think this Adidas pair is incredibly limited and will probably sell out very quickly. So because of that, I'm giving the shoe a sell. Also dropping on May 2nd, and actually a pretty good match for some of the sneakers that we're going to talk about in today's video, are the upcoming Apothecary Serape inspired blanket socks. These socks are dropping just in time for Cinco de Mayo. They're dropping in 2 different colorways on apothecary.com at 11 a.m. Eastern time this Friday. So if you're interested, pick them up. I think they're absolutely fire, and they probably won't last long. Rounding off the second, we've got the Asics UB10S Gel Kayano 20s. This shoe is designed by Kiko Kostadinov, who is like the Teddy Santis of Asics. It comes in 3 different colorways, a primarily green, a sort of orangey hue, and a teal colorway. And not only did Kiko change up the colorways used on the Gel Kayano 20s, he's also adjusted some details like the off-center pull tab on the heel, which I think is a nice touch. If you're a fan of Asics and you want to grab a colorway that not a lot of people are going to have and could be somewhat limited, I definitely recommend picking up a pair of these. I think they retail for $200, so let's be honest, they're not cheap. They're all fire, and I'll definitely be going for a pair for myself. I mean, honestly, I don't know how these shoes are going to do, but I probably would expect them to sell out just because they're a collaboration in a way, in the same way Teddy Santis collaborates on New Balances, even though he's sort of part of the brand, and they're clean colorways on silhouettes that we don't get a lot of. So I do think there is a chance that they could sell out, so if you want to grab them ASAP. Moving on to May 3rd, we've got the women's Air Jordan 4 Aluminum. This is a pretty basic look. It comes in a primarily white leather upper accented by light blue, or I guess aluminum hits. The midsole also comes in white, and the outsole also comes in blue, so it's really just a 2-color sneaker. Now it's not bad, and according to Nike's website, there are some flower details that you can sort of clip on, or a patch that you can sort of stick on. Hey, if you're into that, you can add those because they are included inside the box. As far as pricing goes, this shoe comes in at $215, and in my opinion, I don't think there's that much hype behind this sneaker, so because of that, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Also dropping on May 3rd, it's the Nike SB Dunk Low Pro CSEF. This shoe is a collaboration with the College Skateboarding Education Foundation, a foundation that was started to help skateboarders who wanted to go to college get scholarships. The shoe comes in a relatively simple but also pretty interesting white leather upper accented by a black patent Nike swoosh and a black nubuck on the toe. You've also got like gray suede on the heel with the CSEF logo, and you've got a gum outsole, which you can't hate on that. I wasn't familiar at all with CSEF until right now when I was recording this video, so shout out to Nike for collaborating with someone and bringing awareness to what seems to be a very cool cause. Oh, I didn't notice that before. There's some really cool details kind of hidden in this shoe. It looks like on the back of the tongue tag, you've got University of Nike SB embroidered into the tongue tag. You've also got this guy skateboarding on the lateral side, which is pretty cool. And then on the front of the tongue tag, you've got some sort of like, I guess, test detail or something like that. I don't know, something education based, but it's a very cool looking shoe. And overall, the more that you dig into this sneaker, the cooler it gets. Now, like most Nike SB Dunk Lows, this shoe will retail for $135. And because it will probably be somewhat limited, I wouldn't be surprised if this shoe ends up selling out, but it might not sell out very quickly. Moving on to May 6th, we've got one of the most anticipated sneakers of the entire month, and it might not be one that you would expect. That's the Nike A1 Pink Aura. This shoe is A'ja Wilson's first signature sneaker with Nike, and based on the way that it looks, they knocked it out of the park. This shoe is absolutely fire. The shoe comes in a tonal pink, which I really like, but the thing I like most about it is actually the paneling used on the upper. I like how it's sort of Air Max 95 inspired, and I also really like how the paneling sort of translates down into the midsole, or how they kind of keep the same design language on the midsole as they have on the upper. It's a very well designed sneaker. I also like the way that they named this shoe, the A1 with an A'1 like A'ja Wilson, and then you've got the Pink Aura spelled in the same way. Very, very cool. Nike is finally starting to create some really cool basketball sneakers again. There was an era in like the mid to late 2010s, early 2020s where basketball sneakers just looked like just all the same knit shoe, but now they're actually doing things that are much more unique to the individual athlete, which I really like. And I guess it's not just Nike, it's Adidas with the AE1s. Like all these brands are finally starting to once again create dope basketball sneakers. Shoes that may not be worn casually, but they are really exciting. Now the Nike A1 Pink Aura releases for a retail price of $110, and it will absolutely sell out. The hype for this shoe is really surprising for a basketball sneaker, and I will definitely be one of the people trying to grab a pair, at least to review, and probably wear for myself. Moving on to May 7th, we've got a couple different colorways dropping of the New Balance 2010. Although this shoe is called the 2010s, it's actually not an older pair of sneakers that was pulled out of the archives. Instead, it's a brand new silhouette inspired by older sneakers that were pulled out of the archives. The shoe comes with a seemingly 2002R/990s inspired upper, accented by an absorbed midsole, which I actually think looks really cool. From what I can tell, it's just a new lifestyle sneaker from New Balance. It's not specifically made for running or basketball or anything like that, and it's coming in two different colorways, a primarily orange colorway and a primarily green colorway. And they're both pretty clean. I'd be happy to rock either of them. They're coming in for a retail price of $165, and while I think they will probably sell out in some sizes, I think overall they won't be impossible to get. So I'm gonna give these shoes, I guess, a 6, because I think some sizes will still be available. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments down below if I was wrong. Also dropping on the 7th is the Dot Swoosh Nike Air Force 1 in triple black. This shoe is dropping exclusively to Dot Swoosh members. It's a Web3 inspired sneaker that comes in what they call triple black. I guess they're leaning in heavily to the meme, which would make sense because memes and internet very, I don't know. It seems like they're leaning in heavily to the black Air Force meme with this shoe. That's why they call it the triple black, which I think is kind of funny. It is a pair of sneakers that, hey, maybe I'd grab if I think I do have a .swoosh account actually. I'm not totally sure. I think I created one to sign up for those poly, whatever they were called, the poly Air Maxes or something like that. Let's be honest, it is pretty much just a black Air Force One. It is much more exclusive than a standard black Air Force One, to be fair. It does feature a mini Nike swoosh on the toe and a Swoosh Air branding detail on the heel. However, because it's a more exclusive release, it is retailing for a bit more money than a standard pair of Air Force One lows. It's coming in at $130, which isn't crazy expensive, but it does feel like a lot for an all black pair of Air Force Ones. That being said, because it is an exclusive release to .swoosh, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some hype behind the shoe at least. Most likely, in my opinion, this shoe will end up selling out. Probably won't resell for much, but who knows? You can actually check out the resale price of this shoe and all of the other shoes that we talked about in today's video through the YouTube shopping tab on your screen. Continuing on to May 10th, we've got the Air Jordan 1 UNC Reimagined. So I actually just dropped a review of this shoe on my channel. If you guys want to check it out, there will be a link at the top of the screen. But this is probably one of my favorite sneaker releases of the entire year. Now, that doesn't mean that it's perfect. I do think there are some things about this shoe that could have been done better. For example, the midsole is very, very cream colored for a UNC pair of sneakers. And while I like the reimagined treatment on other shoes, like the Chicago ones, the Lost and Founds, which to be fair, it's almost the exact same treatment on this shoe, I really would have preferred having just a standard pair of UNC ones. But hey, with that being said, it's still a fire release. I'm still really into it. And most likely, it's going to be one of the more popular releases of the entire year. Now, to be fair, right now resale prices are very low, which means that there's probably either a lot of stock of these or people aren't that interested. I would say that it's probably more so there's a lot of stock of these, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But in my opinion, I think this shoe will probably sell out, but not immediately. Now, when it comes to price, it retails for the same thing as every other Air Jordan 1, $180. And I still really like this shoe, even with some of the sort of weirder additions to it, like the very cracked leather around the heel, which again, I understand the idea, I like the inspiration, but it just seems a bit too cracked, like even more so than the Lost and Founds. But I really shouldn't be nitpicking. This is still a fire sneaker. I still think a lot of people are gonna love this shoe, and I do think it's gonna sell out. It just might take a couple days. Continuing on to May 14th, we've got the New Balance 1906L Gray Days. The 1906L is the loafer version of the 1906. It's a very odd sneaker that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, including myself. I bought a pair, I wore it for a while, and I didn't love it, and for some reason the resale price was crazy for it. I don't know why, but it's a very interesting, unique pair of probably fashion-inspired sneakers. I think the sort of tech runner trend is really just infecting every part of sneaker culture or the shoe world, and this is an example of that. New Balance 1906L. Now, aesthetics aside, this is a new colorway of the shoe. It comes in all gray. It's sort of the classic Gray Days New Balance look, and I do think it's one of the better looking 1906Ls. I don't love it, but I do think it's one of the better ones. Like every other pair of 1906Ls, it retails for $160, and most likely, surprisingly, it probably will end up selling out. Moving on to May 15th, we've got the Nike Rejuvenate slides. The Nike Rejuvenates have been the unexpected hit of 2025. This foam clog has been so popular that it can't stay in stock no matter what the colorway is. Nike apparently had excellent foresight and knew that this silhouette was going to be a hit, so they already started production on the Nike Slide version of the shoe, and honestly, it looks like it's going to be just as good as a regular Rejuvenates. I mean, it's basically the same exact thing except with the toe and the heel cut off, but it's kind of fire. Now, like the standard version of the shoe, it comes in a bunch of different colorways. I actually just bought the tan colorway off of Shoe Palace this morning. Hopefully it comes in soon and I can give you guys either a review or like a top 10 best slides video or something like that. But it's a shoe that, while I don't think it's that heavily anticipated, I think once it's actually in stores, it's gonna sell like crazy. I mean, from what I can tell, it looks like the exact same materials as the Rejuvenate. It looks like it's got the same midsole cushion size, so it should be as soft underfoot as the Rejuvenates. And I do think it's gonna be a very popular and very comfortable shoe. Coming in at $60, I feel like this is one of those shoes that you're gonna see in store and it's gonna be an impulse purchase, or you're gonna see it on Nike's website when it launches, and it'll also be an impulse purchase. So I wouldn't be surprised if these slides end up selling out very quickly. Obviously, they'll restock throughout the year, but initially I think they're gonna sell out. Rounding off May 15th, we've got the Air Jordan 3 Soul 2.0. This shoe is a follow-up to the wildly popular Soul Air Jordan 3s that released back in 2018. And like that original release, these shoes are inspired by the 1988 Olympics that took place in Seoul, Korea. Although like the original, the colorway of this shoe is inspired by the Korean flag, the color blocking is a little bit different. You've got a white tumbled leather upper with gray elephant print on the toe and on the heel, a very aged sail color midsole, a blue quilted area around the top of the ankle, and a red sock liner. Oh, and of course, how can you forget the Korean flag on the tongue of the shoe? This is an absolutely fire pair of sneakers. I believe the retail price is $200, and I don't know how limited it's gonna be. Based on what I'm hearing, it is gonna be at some boutique stores and possibly also on the sneakers app, but I don't think it's gonna be a super widely available release. In fact, resale prices right now are in the thousands. I'm sure they'll drop as we get closer to the release, but again, you can check out the resale prices at the time of you watching this video through the YouTube shopping tab on your screen. I think Jordan Brand did a great job with this shoe, like the original. I was never able to grab the original because it was so limited and so expensive, so this is hopefully a pair that I can can grab and can rock, but we'll see what happens. Either way, I think this pair is incredibly fire and will sell out absolutely immediately. Next up, on May 17th, we've got the Air Jordan 12 Melo. This shoe is a retro of Carmelo Anthony's classic 2004 Air Jordan 12 Melo. Like that shoe, it comes in a primarily white upper, accented by light blue hits on the outsole and on the heel. And an interesting tidbit of information that you may or may not have known is that Carmelo Anthony was actually the first non-Michael Jordan athlete to be signed to Jordan Brand. Now it's kind of a common thing, we've got a bunch of Jordan Brand athletes, but Carmelo did it first. This shoe comes in at $200, which is kind of standard fare for Air Jordan 12s, and as cool as this sneaker is, and as much history as there is sort of laden in the design of this shoe, I don't know how popular this shoe is gonna be. I mean, sure, a lot of OG heads are gonna grab this shoe, and a lot of people who love Carmelo will probably grab this shoe, but I wouldn't be surprised if this shoe ends up sitting, because there's a lot of new kids out there who don't know the history and probably don't care about the colorway. So because of that, I guess I have to give it a sit, but I do think it should be more hyped up than it is. I think it's a classic pair of shoes that a lot of sneakerheads probably want to have in their collection. Also dropping on the 17th is the Nike Hyper Ice Hyper Boot. So I was actually lucky enough to have Nike send me out a pair to check out early, so if you guys want to check out that video, there will be a link at the top of the screen. But this shoe is $899. At the time of filming that video, I didn't know what the price point was going to be. Literally, the price came out as I was posting the video. For that price, it's a very expensive pair of recovery shoes. I don't know if I would have spent the money myself personally, but I guess if you're, an athlete or someone who really wants some sort of heat and pressure recovery on your foot, then maybe this is a good way to go. But $899 is a lot of money. Essentially, what this shoe does is help you recover after long workouts or help you warm up before workouts. And basically, it has these air units, or I guess air cushions inside the shoe that get inflated and deflated to create pressure around different parts of your foot. And it also has heating elements in there that help heat up your feet to make sure that you're getting some really cool sort of targeted compression and heat therapy, which I do think is a really cool idea, but it's very expensive in my opinion for what it is. That said, I have been wearing these since I got them. I do really enjoy them. They feel amazing on foot. Like, I'm not a big runner, I'm not a big athlete, I'm definitely not like a big gym guy, although I do go to the gym here and there. I will say that as just a guy who likes to lounge on his couch after a long day at work, this is a nice way to keep my feet warm and cozy and well recovered for the next day. It's a really cool sort of futuristic new pair of shoes. I don't know how popular the shoe is going to be. I would assume because it's the first of its kind, it might sell out. With future versions, maybe not. Kind of like how the first Hyper Adapts completely sold out, even though they were a $700 shoe. I think that could happen with these. Not totally sure, but I'm still going to give these shoes a sell. On May 21st, we've got the Nike Kobe Elite What The. Returning for the first time since its original release, the Kobe 9 What The comes in this very interesting high top knit upper. Now, I say this every time we talk about the Kobe 9 Elites. This shoe is a wild looking pair of basketball sneakers, and it's also wild to me that back in the early 2010s when this shoe dropped, people were wearing this casually. I remember it. I was one of those people. I couldn't get a pair, but if I could have, I would have. Unlike the Kobe 8 What The that we just got, the Kobe 9 What The comes in a pretty simple white upper accented by black carbon fiber on the midsole and orange, green, and blue knit details throughout the upper. It really has sort of like a summery Easter vibe to it, and I get that it is sort of a What The shoe because neither shoe is the same as one another, but it's not that crazy. But hey, maybe that's the appeal of this shoe. I don't know. Either way, it retails for $240. While I think there's a lot of Kobe collectors out there who would be excited to have this pair, I don't think the general population of sneakerheads will run out to the store and grab these, especially not for that price. So because of that, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Moving on to May 23rd, we've got the Nike Air Foamposite 1 Psychic Blue. Releasing in almost a UNC blue, this shoe comes almost entirely in that color. You've got it both on the upper and on the outsole of the shoe, accented by only black around the laces, the tongue, and on the midsole of the sneaker. Now from images, I can't tell if the upper of this shoe is just like a matte upper, or maybe it's some sort of like nubuck material that's overlaid on top of the foam. I'm not totally sure, but either way, I don't think it's an incredibly hyped up release. Now with that being said, I don't think it's a bad release, but when it comes to Foamposites, because they're not as popular as they once were, I feel like the only ones that really move are the classic colorways, and even still, some of those don't even move. The only one that actually really sold out quickly, or the only couple, were the DMVs that released last year and the Galaxy foams, and maybe some of the early, like the University Reds or something from last year. But even then, like, they're reselling for well under retail. Now genuinely, I love Foamposites. I think they're a great pair of shoes. I just don't need that many in my collection, and yes, they are absolutely boots on your feet. This shoe is fine. I don't feel like it's anything special. It is also $250, so I feel like many people are gonna give it a pass, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see this in the Nike outlet in the next couple months. Then getting to May 24th, we have the biggest release of the month, the Air Jordan 4 White Cement. This is one of my favorite sneaker releases of the entire year. I absolutely love this shoe. I mean, first of all, it's a classic OG pair of Air Jordan 4s. I already did a full review. Check it out through the link at the top of the screen. I ended up getting rid of that pair because it was not my size. I plan on buying my size possibly early, possibly around the release date, but to be honest with you, I don't think it's gonna be the easiest shoe in the world to get. But still, it's one of the cleanest Air Jordan 4s of all time. It comes with the white leather upper accented by gray and black splatter print hits throughout the sneaker. Of course, you've got some red hits as well, and it's like one of those shoes you can wear with literally anything. Plus, we haven't gotten a release of this shoe since 2016, so people are fiending for this release. Like, people really want this shoe. Actually, I might just grab a pair right now. on GOAT. Is that crazy? Check it out on the YouTube shopping tab on your screen if you want to grab one for yourself. I'm not kidding. I'm actually about to buy it. I've been thinking about it all day, and I think I'm just gonna go for it. I literally just bought it. That's how much I like this shoe, guys. Guys, the Air Jordan 4 White Cement will be one of the most popular releases of the year. I've said in previous videos that the Air Jordan 5 Metallic Reimagineds are the best selling or reselling sneaker of the year. Like, for some reason, pairs just cannot stay on resale stores' shelves. I think this shoe is gonna be the same. In fact, I think this shoe will be even more popular than that shoe. I don't think resale is gonna be crazy. I think I still paid over probably what it will end up being. I think I paid like $400 for it. But it's a pair of shoes that people are gonna love. It's gonna sell out immediately, and I'm definitely giving this shoe a sell. Next up, on May 30th, we've got the Nike Air Diamond Turf Baltimore Ravens. You know for a fact I have to grab this shoe. Like, I've got to grab this sneaker. As a huge Baltimore Ravens fan, this is a must-have for me. This is literally a Ravens-themed shoe. The inspiration behind this shoe is, of course, the time that Deion Sanders spent on the Baltimore Ravens. While it wasn't a long time, it was a good time. And because of that, he's commemorating it on this sneaker. This shoe comes in primarily black suede, accented by what looks like white and gold details, which of course come from the logo. Now, I'll be honest with you, I am kind of struggling to find purple hits on the shoe other than the purple touches on the outsole, and actually there's some purple on the tongue. Does it say Ravens? What does it say on the tongue? It says 24-21. Sure, I wish there was more purple on the shoe, but hey, it is what it is. Do you guys watch the draft at all? I know this is totally unrelated, but that whole like Shedeur Sanders situation was crazy. I did not expect that, but hey, the Baltimore Ravens drafted well, so can't be mad. It's a relatively simple and clean look, and it's one that's a must-cop for me, and for 150 bucks, I definitely think I'm gonna be pulling the trigger on this one. Even if you're not a Ravens fan, I still feel like this is a clean shoe. It's mostly black with some gold hits and some very, very small purple accents. So if you're a Diamond Turf fan, you wanna grab this shoe, I'd say grab it. It's worth it. Do I think the shoe is gonna sell out? I think it's possible, but realistically, I think it probably will end up sitting, especially in areas that are not Baltimore. So because of that, I am gonna give this shoe a sit, but I also don't think it's gonna be super widely available. So it'll sit, but only in certain stores is my guess. I think some stores or online, it might completely sell out, but you never know. I'm really interested to see how the shoe does, but I'm gonna give it a sit. Dropping on the same day are the Air Jordan 3 Rare Airs. This is another shoe that I already dropped a full review on, which again, you guys can check out through the links at the top of the screen. This shoe is inspired by the mistakes and the problems that occur when sampling a pair of sneakers. In the case of the Air Jordan 3 Rare Airs, it features one backwards Nike Air logo on the heel tab of the shoe. One is correct, one is backwards, and it actually gives it a very cool and unique look. In addition to that, the color blocking of this shoe is somewhat reminiscent of the black cement 3s. It comes in primarily a black tumbled leather upper with some gray suede hits on the toe and on the heel, and of course some blue accents on the midsole. All around, it's a clean look. I really like this shoe a lot, but I feel like there's not a lot of hype behind this shoe, and I think it's gonna be one of those shoes that kind of flies under people's radar, like the original Air Jordan 1 Rare Airs, and possibly like the 4s, although I think the 4s probably will sell out. Because of all of that, I think that there is a very good chance that this $200 pair of Air Jordan 3s might actually end up sitting on shelves. Then rounding off the 30th, we've got yet another release of the Nike Kobe 6 Pro Tro Dodgers. So this shoe already released in LA, of course, because the Dodgers just won the World Series. I think it was supposed to have a wider release in April. That may or may not have happened. I don't think it did though. And it seems like it's been pushed back to May 30th, which I guess is fine. It gives me a chance to actually grab the shoe. Even not as a Dodgers fan, I still think it's a fire pair of blue Kobe's. The shoe comes in a very Dodgers-inspired blue and white makeup, accented by a red number on the heel, which of course is Kobe's number 8. And apparently the shoe is pretty limited, as you would expect from a pair of special edition Kobe's. Now, I think the resale price will drop over time because the shoe hasn't had its wider release yet, so it's possible that it could drop below the levels that it's at right now. It's still pretty high. I'm not gonna pay the resale price for it personally, but I will say it's a very clean pair of shoes. I love the baseball stitching detail around the top of the tongue. I think that's sick. That's such a cool hit that I actually didn't notice until recently, and I was like, wow, that really makes this shoe even cooler than it already was. Now, I'm sure there's gonna be people out there who are not Dodgers fans or actively hate the Dodgers who will not buy this shoe, but I think for people who don't care as much about baseball, like myself, it's a pickup. Coming in at a retail price of $175, this shoe is not gonna be easy to get. I think the shoe is gonna immediately sell out. Then on May 31st, we've got the women's Air Jordan 1 Varsity Red. So this shoe comes in the very popular and recently released red toe color blocking, which essentially is a black toe except with a red toe area instead of a white toe area. Now with that being said, this is not a bread toe one because instead of coming in the standard leather materials, it comes with this sort of cracked metallic material on the red accents of the shoe, which I've got to be honest, I don't love. I don't mind it, I guess, but it's not something that I would wear personally. Aside from the cracked metallic red accents, you do have some standard leather on the white panels and on the black panels of the shoe, and the Wings logo is not sort of pressed and printed like it usually is on an Air Jordan 1s. Instead, it's this sort of black patch that's been stitched into the upper of the shoe. Overall, it's not a bad shoe. I wish we'd actually get a retro of the bread toe ones because I think they first released and last released actually back in 2017 or 2018. But it's a pair of shoes that just looks really clean on foot, so I'd love to have that shoe back. For me though, the shoe is kind of a no-go personally, but I do think there are people out there who will like this shoe. That said, for $180, it's not cheap, and we've seen, you know, classic colorways like the black toe ones sit on shelves. So I think that there's a good chance that this shoe will not sell out and instead sit, because if that shoe sat, that classic Air Jordan 1 with tons of history sat, then most likely this cracked metallic red version will end up sitting as well. But hey, if you made it to this point in the video, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of these releases and which releases were your favorite. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.